Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, adnastana. It's wonderful to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio, and it's doubly wonderful to be doing this particular segment because we will be visiting an organization that I've wanted to cover now for over a year, since I heard about them about a year ago, put it that way. And that organization is the Columbiettes. Just to give you some insight, the Columbiettes are women members of an auxiliary council affiliated with the Knights of Columbus. In 1939, Monsignor Francis McIntyre, chaplain of the New York State Council of the Knights of Columbus, suggested the formation of a group, this group, after conceiving the idea of a ladies' organization to work with the Knights of Columbus. The purpose of the Columbiettes is to aid the Knights of Columbus in their spiritual and social activities when asked. Okay. The primary requirement to be a member of this organization is to be a Catholic female in good standing with the church and to be 18 years of age or older. Now, my guest today is Jeanne Mucci. I understand, though, that she will be bringing some friends, but Mrs. Mucci is the Supreme President of the Columbiettes. Like I said, she's bringing friends. I don't know how many, but I'm looking forward to this. I really am. I want to, right? And as I said, because I've been trying to feature the Columbiettes here on Points of Light Radio for over a year. So this is just going to be great. And I can't wait. All right. Ladies, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So you're all members of the Columbiettes. Columbiettes. I had it right the first time. So why don't you tell my listeners and viewers, first of all, a little bit about yourselves?
Okay, so we are the Supreme Council Columbiettes, and we are a Catholic women's organization that is patterned after the Knights of Columbus. We work hand in hand with the Knights of Columbus in supporting their charities, charitable programs, fundraisers, and other programs that the Knights of Columbus may have. We also have our own programs that each of our auxiliaries sponsors. And, it is often said that the Knights of Columbus are the right hand of the church and that the Columbiettes are the right arm of the Knights of Columbus. So, and when we work together with the Knights, there's really nothing that we can't accomplish together.
Okay. Now, like you said, you're the right arm of the Knights of Columbus. So, tell us about the Columbiettes. What exactly do they do? Especially at the Supreme Council. What exactly are you doing there?
Okay, so we have a board of officers, directors. We have our past presidents. We also have our territorial deputies. And what we do as the Supreme Council is we govern the auxiliaries, for lack of better saying. But what we do is, we have our meetings every other month, and then we have an annual meeting where we have all of our delegates and members who choose to join, and we hold an annual meeting. We also, as far as the Supreme Council is concerned, we've been in existence since 1939. The Columbiettes have been, and on the Supreme Council level, we have one of our programs is we have a disaster relief program where, for example, right now we have these devastating fires in California. And, we've reached out to our members. And if any of our members, were affected by these fires, we do have funds that they are eligible to apply for.
Okay. Now you do have lodges, I guess do you call them lodges?
We call them auxiliaries.
So you have them down in California? Do you have them nationwide?
They are nationwide.
Oh.
Yes. We have over, and Marlene could probably help with this one. We probably have over 15,000 members. Is that right, Marlene? It's close.
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. And how long have you all been members?
I've been a member for over 30 years.
Wow. Now, what auxiliary do you all belong to? Which ones?
I live in New York, and I live on Long Island. So the auxiliary that I belong to is called Memorare. My auxiliary's been around for over 70 years.
Wow.
And then, Ronnie, how long have you been a member?
In Patchogue, I've been a member for 32 years, and our auxiliary's been around for 75 years. So that's wonderful.
Right. Marlene?
I belong to Our Lady of the Rosary Auxiliary in North Carolina. Ronnie and Jeanne are both in New York. So we have, as Jeanne said, we have Columbiettes all over the United States and a lot of the states. And, we're growing every day just about. So
This is good, yes.
Yep. Kathy, how long have you been a member?
I've been a Columbiette for 26 years, and I belong to St. Francis Ex Cabrini in Connecticut, and they've been around for 65 years, and we were the first auxiliary in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. And Pat?
I've been a member for 20 years. I have been a member at Bishop Burke in Delaware, and that auxiliary just celebrated their 30th anniversary.
Wow. Now, let's talk about the purpose of the Columbiettes. First of all, it is to promote the spiritual, social, and charitable welfare of their members. So how do you go about doing that?
Marlene, do you want to take this one?
I'm sorry, I was just letting somebody in my house. I didn't.
You're on mute, Marlene. Sorry.
That came just now, so I had to let him in my house. So sorry. So can somebody else answer that one?
Kathy, you want to take that one?
No?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so you're there to promote, part of the purpose is to promote the spiritual, social, and charitable welfare of your members. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, each of our auxiliaries, they have programs. Some of the programs they have obviously are the Right to Life program. We also have some programs. I know in Connecticut they have a campership program that sends children with special needs to camp over the summer. In New York, we have a transcription for the blind program where we put together Braille books for those who have sight issues. And then, of course, we have our parish functions that we participate in along with the Knights, whether it be, our pancake breakfasts or rosaries or Stations of the Cross. So those are just some of the items that you know.
And of course, like I said, any lodge I belong to or anything like that, I mean, we do a tremendous amount of good work, right, and charitable works. But I think you'll agree with me; those things begin in house. We look after our membership first, don't we? We really, our brothers and sisters and so on, is the main thing. To let them know you're there for them. So part of the other purpose is to instill steadfast conviction relating to the purpose, place, and function of the Catholic women in safeguarding the religious, civil, and economic rights of all Catholics. So is this still an issue today? It is.
As you know what, as Catholics, it is an issue. Catholics are always targeted, and we're always fighting for our religious freedoms. So we're always out there, saying the rosary together. Where I know the March on Washington is coming up in, I think it's the end of the month, or was it last week?
It was last week.
It was last week.
Yeah.
Okay. So I couldn't attend. I had to work. So yes, so we're always, making sure that, we defend our Catholic faith.
Very true. That's good. Now, do the Knights of Columbus approach you do you have to you say you hold joint meetings with them on occasion?
Well, we don't have joint meetings with them. The Knights vote at their meetings to welcome the Columbiettes into their respective councils. So the Knights have their meetings, Columbiettes have their meetings separately, but then we do work together in our respective councils for our church community and for our members.
Is there a degree system to the Columbiettes?
We had a degree system. We had a first degree and a major degree system, but back when COVID came in, we changed that. So now we just have an initiation ceremony. So it's just one meeting.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Now, what is the dress code for your meetings?
Well, there's, I mean, if the readers saw how we were dressed now, I mean, the Supreme Officers, we all tend to wear the same, color shirt and slacks. But at a meeting, the members, they can come,
Just a
however they come. Yeah.
A business meeting.
What most officers try and dress in business attire.
Okay.
And that's,
Yeah, I've said that before. There's some, even the organizations I belong to, there are some of them that's pretty casual. You can show up in a jeans and a t-shirt, but there are some lodges I've been in where you better put your church clothes on before you go in there.
Yeah.
For a simple business meeting, they just don't like it.
But I do have to say, I know that there are some, auxiliaries who are a little lax on the dress code. But you know what? We're not here to judge. We welcome them in.
Now, do you have a uniform like the Knights of Columbus do?
Not per se. No. I mean, we just, like I said, we typically would wear like the same color, blouse or sweater. But not the jacket, tie, and badge. No.
Now, I understand, Mrs. Mucci, you are the Supreme President of the Columbiettes.
Yep.
So what are your duties as president?
So we have our officers and we have our directors, So my duties are, to have our annual convention. So I will chair that. We have meetings every other month. So I chair those meetings as well. Um, and each month or every other month, I meet with our directors and discuss what they're currently working on. I will also meet with our state presidents and talk to them and, find out if there's any issues that we can assist them with. We also have our territorial deputies who, we kind of, we meet, I meet with them as well. And then, a lot of it is administrative. We do have our convention season that's between April and June. And our states have their respective conventions. And I try to attend as many of those conventions as I possibly can. So those are just some of the things that I do.
Now, what drew everyone? What drew you towards the Columbiettes? Let's just. What drew you?
My mother was a Columbiette.
Oh, okay, random family.
And my dad was a Grand Knight.
Cool.
And I grew up at the council that I belonged to. So, at some point, I figured I was going to be a Columbiette at some point in my life. And so now I can't believe that I'm, the Supreme President.
I got involved. My husband is a knight.
Okay.
And I used to go help with pasta dinners and anything that he was involved in. And some of the ladies that were in our auxiliary approached me and said, you're here. We see you like to do these things. How would you like to become a member? So I did, well, like I said, 26 years ago, and I held just about every office in the auxiliary level, and I held every office at the state level. And now I'm moving up the chairs in the Supreme level. So it's kind of amazing.
Anyone else?
I moved from Pennsylvania down to North Carolina 20 years ago and didn't know a soul down here. And it was a way to meet like women that had the same beliefs as I did and to become friends, have more people that I could be friends with other than just my neighbors. So it was a way for me to find friendship.
I was the same as Marlene. I moved from Maryland to Delaware, and it was a relatively new development, but I didn't know a single soul. So I went to church and I saw an advertisement in the bulletin and I thought, why not? I'll make friends this way. So again, like Kathy, I kind of sort of moved up through the auxiliary to the state and directors on the Supreme Board, and now I'm on the Supreme Board.
Lisa?
I wouldn't change a minute of it either.
I was basically the same as the others. My husband was very involved in the Knights of Columbus, and a very good friend of mine was very involved in the Columbiettes, and she kept asking me to join. But my children were young then. I was very involved in PTA, so I didn't want to split myself between the two. And so I didn't join. And then this friend of mine said to me, this is the last time I'm asking you. You either join or forget about it. I said, okay, I'll join. And that was that.
No pressure.
No pressure.
With me, it was my husband was a knight. He was an officer, and we went to all the events. And like Kathy, I helped with everything. And finally, somebody said, "You've got to join the Columbiettes," and that's how I joined. And I went through the auxiliary, the chapter, and then Supreme, and now I'm immediate past president.
What do you like most about it?
I love the camaraderie. I mean, the ladies, we just get along. And we have the same ideas, and you become a family. My theme when I was president was "We are family," because that's exactly how I felt. I had a health issue when I was president, and if it wasn't for these wonderful ladies that stepped in to assist, I wouldn't have been here today. So they are my family.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that aspect too, even in the Bible.
Yep.
In Jesus' time, it was the ladies that ministered, did a lot of the ministration. Within that, we forget that the big part that women play in the church, don't we?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ladies, I appreciate your time tonight. All the best to you and the Columbiettes and your auxiliaries.
Thank you so much for the invitation. We truly thank you. We thank you. We would love,
Thank
we
you
would
very
love to have the Columbiettes name out there.
Okay. All the best. God bless you for your time.
Thank you.
That was Jeanne Mucci and her friends, brothers and sisters, shedding some light on the Columbiettes. Wasn't that fun? It's been a while since I had that many guests on here at the same time, and it went well, right? But what do you think? Okay. Let me begin by saying this sounds like a group that really cares for its members and promotes sisterhood. And from what I observed, I saw a recurring theme of how people wind up in these fraternal orders. First of all, you heard someone one of the sisters moved to a new area, didn't know anybody, and chose to make friends by joining this. And I think that's wonderful. I mean, you saw that, for instance, with my friend, Mr. Cousteau. You saw the same thing when he moved into that new community in Colorado. But you also saw people whose parents, it ran in their family, their parents were members, or, they were married to someone who was part of, in this case, the KOC. So, they got involved in banquets and finally found their way into the Columbiettes, right? And, those were all familiar themes. The other thing I've observed here, and I find very interesting, and you've heard it said here on Points of Light Radio, that Gilded Age of fraternalism was supposed to be between 1855 and 1890. Now, the Columbiettes were very late to that party. They were brought into existence in 1939. Now, how did that happen? How could they have been successful at that point? Well, first of all, I think some of the keys to their success is they are unabashedly Catholic, and they've chosen not to become mixed. I do think that's part of the success of this organization. They're an unabashedly women's organization, right? And of course, another great reason is the positive experience of mentorship, fun, and fellowship that they offer to the sisters, combined with, like I said, the nurturing of one's spiritual needs. I think that's wonderful, right? I'll tell you right now that the Columbiettes are always welcome back here on Points of Light Radio. And I have another interview on deck here, so I have to move on. But before I go, as always, I want to draw your attention to the fact that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. I also want to draw your attention to the PayPal link, where you can go hit on that link and make a voluntary donation of Points of Light Radio, and we will use those funds to move this podcast forward. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, this has been such a pleasure. And until we meet again, just step into the light.